Welcome to the New England Job Show. My name is Brian Henchy, and many workers in this economy, despite their best efforts, have been unemployed for over 2 years without landing a position. For them, life becomes increasingly desperate. Many workers long ago ran through their savings and the bulk of their 401ks. Many workers have never been in a situation like this before and are unsure what to do next. Where can they go for help? Is there help available? Does one have to become homeless before they're even eligible to get help? Today on the New England Job Show, we're talking with Yolande Pere. She's going to teach us Survival 101 for the unemployed. Yolande Pere has an extensive background in mentoring, leadership, and career development. She's a senior case manager for community teamwork in Lowell, where she provides ongoing support and expertise through comprehensive assessment, planning, implementation, and overall evaluation to clients to assist them in successfully gaining sustainable employment. So, Yolande Pere, thank you for joining us today on the New England Job Show.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
So, let's first talk about assistance. And before we talked about overcoming barriers and when people run into issues when they're trying to get that job and they have issues with, let's say, well, let's just go for these three: transportation, childcare, and housing. So if somebody's been looking for a job for a long time and they have problems in any of those three areas, what can they do to get help?
Okay, well, the first thing people need to understand is they have to acknowledge what it is happening in their lives. For instance, if someone is having problems in finding a job and eventually gets that phone call that will actually land him the job, but doesn't have child care in place, that is going to be a problem. So the first step is a true assessment. Where are you right now? What are the obstacles that can become barriers? If you don't have childcare, if you have a housing situation, if you're currently doubled up with friends, maybe they really like you for a while, but you know that's going to be a problem for you because you want to be with your family, and your friends might not be so welcoming after 6 months.
So if somebody needs housing, where should they go? What should they do?
So the first thing they should be doing, CTI has an excellent housing department, and they have different programs, and they will assess, they will meet one-on-one. They will assess the people, their particular situation, and they will work with them to solve that problem.
And you're talking about community teamwork.
And I'm talking about, yes,
okay.
CTI's housing department.
Okay. Also, childcare. If somebody needs help with childcare, what services are available for them?
Childcare, well, the agency that oversees childcare vouchers, which is what actually pays for childcare in the state of Massachusetts, is Childcare Circuit.
Okay.
But there are different agencies, among them CTI, you have the Department of Transitional Assistance, you have Mass Rehab, that can actually generate vouchers, issue vouchers for families, and help them during the process of their job search.
Okay. And actually, just to mention it, I've heard situations where churches will actually help people to live with another member of the church if they need help. But yeah, so state problems and religious organizations too. What about transportation if somebody can't get to their prospective job?
Right. Well, the first thing people need to understand is public transportation is very good in the state of Massachusetts. I have to say that. It is good.
Depends where you are, but yeah.
It depends on where you are, but it is good. I mean, we have a fantastic commuter rail system, and we also have the T. Well, that's more in Boston, not here. But there are organizations and agencies like More Than Wheels and others that can actually provide transportation and even vehicles to families in need.
So More Than Wheels is one. Also, do you know if, for example, if the MBTA has any sort of program, or do you know if the Department of Transitional Assistance, aka Welfare, do you know if they have any discounts for transportation?
They do.
Really?
They do, yes. And they actually have a transportation stipend.
Really?
That is, yes.
Oh, wow.
That is actually is part of the cash assistance that they receive when they are doing job search.
Wow, okay.
So
I
they
didn't-
can actually use it either for public transportation or for gas money.
Okay. And also, I didn't mention this before, but what about if you are so tight on money that you don't have money for food? What about that?
Well, food stamps is one of the, it's a great program, SNAP, which is now, it's called SNAP, which is a Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program.
Okay.
And everyone can actually access SNAP.
Okay.
They would have to go through the Department of Transitional Assistance, and they have certain requirements, but basically it covers everyone.
So this is actually kind of a bigger question, but to get access, to become eligible to get lots of these entitlements, what do people have to, what kind of situation are they in when, basically what do they have to, what situation do they need to be in to be eligible for these sorts of things?
Okay, well, the first thing is I wouldn't see them as entitlements. I see them more as benefits. A lot of these people who are receiving cash assistance have been employed, and they have lost their job, and for some reason they find themselves in situations that they never thought was, you know, something that was going to happen to them. So once someone is lost, well, when someone someone loses their job, the first thing they have to do is they file for unemployment, and they will receive unemployment, and there's a number of weeks according to the state. And,
right, and you had to work a certain number of weeks to be eligible for
correct, and you have to, exactly. So there are some eligibility requirements in terms of unemployment. And if you don't have unemployment anymore, then you can actually file for cash assistance over at the Department of Transitional Assistance.
Okay.
But during the time of unemployment, there are a lot of things that you can do. Housing is one of them.
Okay.
Because that means you have some sort of income, and that makes you eligible for some programs.
So, and what about child care? What sort of situation do you have to be in to be eligible for that?
They just need to be doing job search most of the time.
Really?
Yes. And even, you know, people who are not receiving cash assistance through the Department of Transitional Assistance can actually come through CTI, Community Teamwork Inc., and fill out an application to obtain a voucher. It's going to take a little bit more time, but they will be served.
Okay. What type of things do the different state agencies look at when they're checking to see whether or not you qualify? Are they looking at, I don't know, for example, where you live? Does that count into it, or?
Not really. No. So
they look at past employers, I suppose.
They look at the assets in general.
Okay.
Right? But that doesn't mean that if someone is currently like paying her mortgage, that person is not eligible. That means that the housing situation might be at risk because that person, if that person doesn't actually find a job in the short term, might go into foreclosure, the house, and that is going to be more of a problem. So there are different agencies that actually work with a person, and again, housing is one of them, to prevent those things from happening or to minimize them.
Okay. Also, I've heard this before. Some people talk about how you have to start making choices between which bills that you're going to pay and what you shouldn't pay. What recommendations do you have when it comes to paying bills? Should you let some go? Should you pay all of them? Should you do your best to pay, call them up? Or what are your recommendations on those?
Well, you should try, at the very least, to make a payment plan and be realistic on the things that you can afford and can't afford. That's one of the things that is probably the most difficult that people face, that your situation is different, that you're not employed, so you don't have that steady income that allows you to go out and have dinner, that allows you to buy, to go on a shopping spree. So those are some of the things. I mean, it's very difficult, And that's one of the things that we do when we do assessment with the individuals, and we let them know, you know, what is your current situation?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like before?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that they can actually understand what's happening and not be like in denial. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So
Because that happens, and it's normal, by the way.
So suppose you have enough money for housing, and what about if you need help with electricity or heat?
There are programs. Fuel assistance, again, is a program over at CTI, and they assist people with the payment of some of their bills.
Okay, and again, CTI is Community Teamwork Incorporated, and that is located in Lowell, Massachusetts, right?
Yes, it's at 155 Merrimack Street.
Okay.
And 17 Kirk Street.
Okay, so you have two locations.
Mm-hmm.
Also, isn't there also Citizens Energy with Joe Kennedy?
Yes. Yeah, that too, yeah.
Right, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we also talk about quickly here, when you first go through the intake, and we're just about out of time for the segment, but what about doing the first initial intake that CTI does? What sort of, I mean, I know you said that it covers everything. Can you give us a few specifics?
Right. Well, there are two ways people actually can actually get services from us. They are referred by different agencies, or they just walk in.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. Someone walks in and they meet with one of the case managers, and we do a very comprehensive assessment and intake. It goes all the way from very general personal information to details on their housing, details on their health-related issues that they may have, family situations that might be preventing them from moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually touches upon different factors.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that is critical. We consider that to be very critical, because sometimes people just say, you know, what I need is help with my resume.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and maybe that's what you need.
Mm-hmm.
But then they usually come back, because that's not just what they need.
Yeah. Okay. We are just about out of time for this segment, so why don't I just say thank you again for joining us, and we're going to come right back in a moment with some more New England Job Show. My name is Brian Henchy. We'll be right back with Part 2 of Survival 101.